It's always
right. Yeah. Right. But shout out to Nikki Rushton because she's a blessing. She's gonna be a blessing to the show and to my new friend that I've met, Janet Graham, realtor, Janet Graham. So, and Nikki Rushton is Gary Gann's sister.
Yeah.
So, all right, guys. So, Mike, I know you got something, man. You always have something. I don't mean to put it on you, but you know what I'm saying? Like we kind of start over here. All of us start looking over here, right. And then we end up looking like right here.
Yeah, he's silly, man.
Yeah.
Make sure we look at the camera, y'all.
Right. Yeah. Definitely.
For our viewers, this is for you too.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. I do actually have something that I've kind of been thinking about. Y'all know the journey that I'm currently experiencing within myself is, how can I make myself better in every way? Mm-hmm. And so I've been focusing on strengths that I may have and improvement methods and just, creating better habits, all of that kind of stuff. But one thing that I started thinking about last week, and I can't even remember what triggered the thought in my mind, but I started thinking about my weaknesses. Mm-hmm. I remember what it was. I was talking to, I don't want to get into it. I was talking to somebody and I was mentioning a game that I played with my family. So my parents and my sister. We played this game, and this game is like it's almost like a family therapy session almost. It's not intentionally that. Yeah. It's what it is basically how well do you know your family. So there are questions that'll say, I'll pick a card and, let's say y'all are my family or my friends or whoever I'm playing the game with. Pick up a card and it might say, what's my favorite color? Or what are the things in this world what are the top 3 things that are the most important to me in this world? And so whoever answers that closely or correctly gets the card. So that's the game. Anyway, one of the questions for me that I picked up was, what is your greatest weakness? And it's something that I was able to, because I have to think about what my answer is before I even ask the question. Yeah. It was something that took a fraction of a moment for me to be able to recount or recall what I feel is my greatest weakness. And so instead of just addressing it and pointing to it, my thought then became, okay, well, what am I going to do to defeat that weakness or to subdue it or remove it altogether, right? And so I'll share, but I want to, if y'all don't mind, I mean, sharing something that you consider your greatest weakness, depending on what it is, it might be something that's a little touchy that you may not want to talk about in public. But if y'all are good with it, I'll share mine, and then I'll kind of go over some of the things that I'm thinking about as far as being able to overcome. So my greatest weakness, and I have a lot of weaknesses. I'm not somebody that purports to be perfect or have arrived in any way, but I believe that my greatest weakness is my capacity, my immense capacity to, I feel like I thrive after I've procrastinated. And I don't want to, I want that to not be the case. I want procrastination to be something that I avoid. Right now, in most areas of my life, I'm a business owner, and with a lot of the work that I do, I tend to not be as proactive as I could be. When I was in school, when I was a kid, all of my homework, everything I did it at the very last minute. When there are things that I have to, for instance, present, there was a time in my life where I was a teacher. I used to teach in church. And a lot of the, subjects or lessons that I would teach on, I wouldn't really study until the day before or even, just hours before. And I'm grateful that I'm able to still have some success, even though I've been a chronic procrastinator. But my goal is to become somebody that is prepared. So I look at, like, for instance, somebody told me this. I don't know if it's considered an axiom, but anyway, somebody said that for an old person, if you make an appointment with an old person and you say, I'm going to be there at 5 p.m., at 4:45, they're nervous because you're not. So it's a difference for that instance. That example is a generational difference. But for me, I want to get into the mindset that says if I'm not being proactive with everything that I want to do and getting it done, not only on time, but even early if I can, then I'll be able to slowly start pushing that side of me away, the procrastination. But anyway, so that's mine. I got some other kind of thoughts about it that I'll go into if we get time. But y'all want to share?
That is rough. No, I'm just kidding. That's not hard, man. You want to go first here?
No, I'll let you guys go. Let me think about it.
Okay.
Let me think about it a bit.
All right.
You want me to? Or you got it?
You go
I actually was gonna say the same thing because I have procrastination issues too, and it's like I think I've tried to make myself feel better by just saying I thrive under pressure instead. Same, right? You know what I mean? Yep. So it's like I kind of use it as an excuse that I just rush through stuff at the last minute and try to still make it high quality, not like like throwing something together.
Sure, absolutely,
kind of thing, right? But just to bring variety to the discussion, I think that mine is another one of mine is probably not giving enough credence or consideration to people's emotions sometimes. And I think that it makes me so slow on so many other things because I feel like I got a lot of work, a lot of time I have to kind of consider things before I speak on something or address something because I feel like I had to go through like a period of filtration, right, to kind of get to where I can say something constructively and in a positive way, like without having like a negative impact on somebody. But I feel bad because, like I said, I think I push that on my kids sometimes too. You know what I mean? And say things and feel like I had to go back and apologize. Like I probably wasn't the most considerate in the way I said this, and try to have to go back and explain, well, this is why I said it or what I'm trying to help you do. You know what I mean? But I feel like I'm disconnected, I think, from that part of me in some cases, and it makes it harder to kind of relate to or consider other people's emotions sometimes, right? So you said that your work that you're doing to kind of remedy that is right now, at least, is just going back and saying, hey, listen, what I said and the way I responded is not necessarily, I do that to try to make up, right? I'd like to get to the point where I have that being enough of a consideration. And again, I think what it goes back to is I probably don't give my own emotions enough seat time and not enough time in the driver's seat, right? So I like for it to be where I don't have to go back and be apologizing all the time, trying to make up for having done something wrong, but kind of have it at the forefront of my mind and address things correctly the first time and with compassion and consideration the first time, right? So that's funny that you mentioned that part because I was thinking like I'm not gonna say this on camera because I don't want to get into a situation where we're where it's a Gary's therapy session, but right. But that's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, okay, so after the camera goes off, I was going to suggest that it could be just the fact that you are allowing your own emotions to kind of have enough of a stronghold in the way that you process things. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's all I'm gonna say about it. I mean, it is what I've given too much seat time to one particular emotion that is not the most constructive one. So, sure.
I would say my the thing I've struggled with in the past that I think I've gotten better with is just being maybe a little bit inconsistent. Like I have like various interests, so I find myself like wanting to touch a lot of different things.
Gotcha.
And then it's like I know my potential, with everything that I touch, but got to be kind of have a focus, and stay consistent in that lane, get some things complete, and then move on to the next thing. So I have struggled with consistency, like on just completing certain things. I've gotten a lot better with it just with maturity. And then, as the clock is ticking with just time and just life, you're like, okay, I want to get some stuff done. So now consistency becomes my focal point. So I want to be consistent because I see that down there, I see that path. Whether it be with health or just a project that I'm working on, art, film, video, different relationships that you want to foster to get to a certain place, be consistent with it so that you can see that. And then you can maximize your potential in it. So that's where my mind is geared towards now. It's like, okay, be consistent, and then you're going to see the results. You'll see the better fruits. Like I see the fruits of my labor. But I want to see some fresh fruit now. Right, you know what I'm saying? Right. I want to see some, I want to get to a different level because I've been living my life where it's like I see the greatness. I see the beauty in the different things that I can do in the lives that I can touch, and the things that I can get done. But it's just like I'm here and then that's there. So how do I build that bridge there? And then just make sure it's a good solid bridge. And, so that's where my mind and my actions have been. I've been working on that for a few years now, and I've gotten really good with it. I have an understanding of myself. I understand what has been a weakness for me, and I see how it has belabored things. And so now I'm at the point now where it's just like, okay, I see that guy 5-10 years ago, and I don't want to be that guy now. Because there's some things I would like to get done.
Right.
And it's a certain lifestyle that I want to live, and I don't want to belabor that. You know what I'm saying? So those are the motivations behind being consistent.
Yeah. That's a good one, man. I've struggled with that myself too.
Yeah. And that's hard for people to admit, because when you look at that as a weakness, it's like, well, I can't trust you.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, that's not true. The reality is that
that's so true.
Yeah, that's something within myself
that
I have an understanding of.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if I owe you some money, I'm going to consistently make sure. It don't have nothing to do with that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So that's why you get kind of nervous stating weaknesses. So oh, okay, that explains some things.
Right. That is so funny.
Man. Yeah. So
it's funny because that's another one of my weaknesses, and unfortunately, it was pointed out to me as opposed to me just recognizing
exactly
within myself.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
And so that's something that I've been kind of working on too. My efforts there are just in building better habits. You know what I mean? Just daily. If I'm consistent with making sure that I get up on time and spend an X amount of time just clearing my mind and making sure I'm on time to work and so on and so forth, it'll help everything else to kind of start to fall into place because I'll be a creature of habit, so to speak. Yeah,
that's powerful.
Yeah.
All right, Ethan.
Yeah, you've been trying to hold out.
Everybody, he on his pillow like this.
Right. You'll be colored up in front of him.
Right. No, man, I think you guys are saying some things that I struggle with too, and definitely as a man, right? Is there's you always say that there is a ideal type of individual that you want to become, right? And then you kind of there's a gap, right? I'm here,
and I want to
be here, and then there's still a gap in between, right? So, and kind of like what you said, Al, is like you're working within that gap to get to that ideal individual, right? So, when you're talking about the procrastination, I think that does fall in line with the consistency and stuff, and I think that's kind of my thing as well.
Okay.
And I think because I have multiple weaknesses.
Yes,
I really do, man. Like, and as far as prioritization of the weaknesses,
which one needs to die now?
Which one needs to? I would say, in all honesty, is hard to say no. Right.
Okay.
Sometimes, right, or not being able to speak up.
Okay.
When the time is right. Okay. You know what I'm saying? I've always been kind of a laid back individual and let things slide, kind of passive a little bit. I think my passivity, is that right?
Is it pacifist?
Is that?
I don't know.
It's something like that, right? You're right.
That might not be
you understand what I'm saying, being passive on some things when maybe I should have said something.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably is from a thought process weakness right there. Consistency would probably follow afterwards. Discipline.
You know what that is? That's the advocate. Remember the personality test stuff?
Yeah.
Because I have the exact same thing.
Yeah.
The exact same thing.
It's crazy, ain't it, man?
Trying to give so much consideration to other people that
that's it.
You put yourself at the bottom of the list all the time. Right? So it's like speaking up for yourself, speaking up for things you think need to be done or the right way to do it. You're trying to be so cautious of everybody else around you and how it's going to affect them that you tend to be more reserved. So.
And the thing is like what you're saying is, are you missing something, right? And all that. Are you really catapulting to that ideal person if you are constantly falling on that advocate type of mindset, So even if we did that personality test or whatnot, did it help or hinder? Right, because a lot of times when people say, "Well, I'm staying there," instead of looking at the personality and say that I'm not sure if I want to be that, right? So what can I do to move forward? You know what I'm saying? Like, but some people will get comfortable
because they feel validated that this is just my
Right,
personality. This is a
right.
weakness that comes along with who I am.
Goes
Exactly.
back to what you guys were saying about, you know, I work better under pressure.
Right, exactly. That's
You know what I'm
exactly
saying?
right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's kind of like a two-edged sword, right?
It
You know
is,
what I'm
it
saying?
is.
Like excuses, like I always say, excuses are useless, right? You know what I'm saying? Like excuses, they are. I mean, it's a hindrance to one's progress,
Right.
You know, so
Yeah.
that's kind of where I'm at. Right?
I love that, man.
And as I matured, I've gotten away from working under pressure, man. Because I've matured to know that time management is better than
For sure.
And we said that. We said that in an earlier episode.
Yeah. If you manage your
management,
time, you can get a lot. Because I can get a lot done even
A lot
before
more done.
a lot more done
Yeah.
before 12 noon in a day, and then the rest of the day you can kind of coast, you know. But you don't want to like just say, I'll take care of that. I'll take care of it later. And then, you know, nighttime comes and you fumbling around in the dark trying to get stuff done.
Yeah.
So it's like for me, because I used to feel that way. I'm like, man, I could take care of all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd take me 10 minutes to do all that.
Right. Yeah. Next thing you sit down breathing heavy.
Right.
I don't feel like doing nothing.
Ooh, I need a nap.
Martin Luther King said this. He says, when you get up, when in the morning when you wake up, get up, and when you get up, do something.
Yeah,
That's good.
This is very simple.
That's
you
very
know what I'm
simple,
saying?
yeah.
Just,
Good.
just that's like that's what I'm learning to. When you wake, morning is so easy. I'm fresh. You know, that's the best time to think, man. I feel like I have that connection with God, like early when you just lay there and kind of meditate a little bit. Those are the best times to really kind of clear your thoughts and get your mind ready.
That's
for
what I
the
do.
day, you know what I mean? So,
My time for meditation and just clearing my mind is in the morning too. Yeah. Mostly in the morning.
helps.
Sometimes in the evenings, but yeah, mostly in the morning when I'm just, like you said, fresh.
yeah, fresh, boy.
I was talking to a mentor of mine, and it's funny that we weren't even talking about procrastination or anything like that. He just happened to be kind of not rambling, but he was just kind of laying out some thoughts of his. And he said to me, this was about a month ago, I think. And every single day since then, I've taken this to heart, and I've said it to myself probably dozens of times a day. He said to me, just in regular general conversations, he said, yeah, I learned a long time ago that if I'm looking at the end of a project or looking at how long, he works in the same field that I do. So he said, if I'm looking at the end of a project or I'm looking at how long something is going to take, he said, it's overwhelming. He said, I make every minute count. He said, I have to think about making the minutes count. The hours will take care of themselves and the project will be finished before you know it.
It's very true.
Every waking moment of the day, if I'm awake and I can be productive, I need to make those minutes count. And I've been doing that, and my productivity I've finished 2 projects early, and Gary can probably attest to it. I've never finished a project early since I've been doing this. Before like the last month or so, I finished 2 separate projects early, and I couldn't believe it.
That's amazing.
What was the process with that?
just getting in my mind to, so for instance, let's say I'm hanging and finishing drywall. Okay. Let's say that's the project. Normally, the way that my procrastination and just poor time management normally will work, I might hang 5 sheets and then go take a lunch and then hang 5 more and then sit down and scroll on Facebook or something, and an hour goes by, and then I might come back in, as opposed to coming in, hanging everything that I can while I'm, I might have something playing in my ears, whatever, but making every moment count until it's time to stop and take a break, blah, 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 and then coming back and being fruitful, basically. Having working in the environment that I find myself in, I work mostly alone. I have, people that I bring in most of the time. I work mostly alone, and I don't have to punch a clock for anyone. And so those 2 things mixed with somebody who's a procrastinator can make for a devastatingly bad situation. Because I'm not accountable to anyone except for myself. And so if I feel like I'm gonna sit down on the couch while I'm supposed to be working, nobody's there to be like, hey man, get back to work. You know what I'm saying? I have to self-start. And so by keeping the mental, by keeping it in front of my mind to make every moment count, every minute count throughout my workday, has increased my productivity like I can't. But like, it's such a simple thing, but it has changed, and that's kind of just the way that things have been going in my life in general.
Yeah.
I find ideas and I come across concepts and theories and proverbs and bits of wisdom that I can carry throughout the rest of my life. That might have been just something that was said in passing. I've got stuff from y'all just doing this podcast that I carry with me every single day while I'm working or thinking or talking to somebody or whatever. You know what I mean?
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Because I like that process that you were thinking about, man. Because me, I'm a process guy anyway.
Okay.
I gotta have steps. That's just me, man. I've learned to walk that. It says in the personalities, right? He says meaningful steps. It's like knowing, because the whole idea is building a picture. You know, picture puzzles. I love puzzles. Like I love problem solving, right?
Me too.
And so if you like, if I have a box of 2,000 pieces, I dump them up. Guess what Ethan Merriweather's doing? I'm flipping every last one of them first. Every last one of them. It's just like, that's an automatic thing. Like, I spread it out and I flip all of them one by one. I don't care how many pieces it is. Because in my mindset, there's a step. It's like, get the box. Get the box, put it down, pour them out, spread them, get your box cover, flip it so I can see it. You know what I mean? That's just the way it is. And I think that if we do that more and more, you won't miss, certain things won't be missed. And that's the reason why certain times when I was saying, like, I feel like I'm missing something. The reason why I feel like that is because I'm a process guy, dude. I know that there's something missing, you know? And kind of like what you're saying is just that moment, for me to do that, like go into a job and then sit down and go on the phone, that'll drive me crazy because that messes up my process. You understand what I mean? I gotta see it until it's done. You know, that's how I've always been, man.
That makes you a very productive person.
It drives me nuts, right? And that's one of the reasons why I decided not to bank, because it would drive me crazy. You know, my dad was trying to give me the business, our painting business, but you know, me being dumb, you know, and young, right? I didn't see the value of owning my own business or having my father's, you know, business, you know. But once this process hit me, it didn't hit me until I was in my 20s, you know. So when I was younger, I didn't understand process. I didn't understand.
That's good stuff. I had another thought, but it's a different topic.
No,
let me throw this one thought out there first. So I've recommended this book to all of y'all. I'm sure none of y'all bums read it, but there's this book called Atomic Habits by James Clear, which is, I don't know if there's any book that's been more influential to me ever, except for the Bible. I've got a lot from the Bible, but he talks about, so going back to what you were saying about the process from opening the box of the puzzle, flipping out the pieces, setting the box up so where you can see the picture, turning over all of the pieces. That's a habit, as described in the book. He talks about making the most of your mental bandwidth by creating habits and processes like that, because you don't have to think about, okay, what should I do first? It's automatic. It's a habit. So a habit is something that is done basically in an autonomous type of way in your mind. Your mind automatically knows when I walk into the bathroom, I hit the light switch. I don't have to think about the fact that I need light in the bathroom or anything. It's a habit. It's automatic. And so that one little step, or in your case, those 3 or 4 steps, removes the amount of bandwidth that your mind would normally need to take in order to process other things and compresses it into something that's a habit.
Good thought.
And so it's automatic, and so I can think about other things. I can listen to music while I'm doing it, or I can have a conversation with you while I'm opening this stuff up and flipping all these, because I don't have to focus all of my attention on, okay, what do I need to do?
Right.
And so I've been using that same type of process in order to kind of streamline a lot of the things in my life. You know what I mean? I'm trying to maximize the amount of time that I can spend, or energy rather, that I can spend thinking about things that actually matter and things that can actually take me places, versus spending time thinking about, you know, how long I should brush my teeth, or, you know what I'm saying? That type of stuff. Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
But anyway, read that book, man.
No, actually, that's another book. I'm gonna get that because I got another book by Charles Duhigg. His name, it was The Power of Habit. I think I shared that with you as well. And it's the same thing. It's the same. Yeah, it's awesome, man. Those habits, like you said, it's something. Put like this: when the power go out in this house or whatnot, guess what I'm still doing when I go in the bathroom?
hitting the lights. Because it's automatic.
It's automatic, and that's what made you think of that. Man.
Yep. Yeah. And so if we can get to the point where things like, I don't know, you're an engineer, you work in IT, you do automotive, like warranty, whatever. If we can find ways to do our daily processes, just the things that are mundane with our jobs, like I know there's differences in everything that we do, but there are still certain things that you're going to have to do every day, once a week, once a month, whatever. If we can get to a point where those things we can turn our brains off and still be able to do them, then we can use that bandwidth in order to focus on something.
Yes.
Your videos that you like, your videography, your music, all that. You know what I'm saying?
Building systems, man.
Building systems.
I was talking to G the other day about I deal with a lot of data. A lot of data, claims data, and different things. And G showed me a couple of things on how to.
Was it on Excel?
Excel.
This man's a freaking wizard.
I know. So he was showing me a few things, man, and I was like, man, this is going to make my job a lot. I didn't get it done yet, right? But because once I got to free up some time to do it. I got to free up some time to do it. But once you get it done, like you said, I already know I'm getting this book of data, right? If I dump it here and I push a button and it sorts everything that I need out for me, I can be over here in the meantime.
Exactly.
Exactly.
The same thing your computer does for you, your brain can do that same thing.
That's right.
And that's why I'm trying to strengthen up my brain so I recognize viruses when they come. You understand what I mean?
Like that. Viruses for your mind, you mean?
Yeah, man. Okay. I'm talking, and you know what I mean. It's the negative thoughts.
Yeah.
The viruses of negative thoughts, negative people, darkness, anything that would keep me from my purpose that God has placed in all of us. You see what I'm saying? And the thing is, it's a lot of information out there. Is a lot of agendas. There's a lot of things that approach us to detour us from that. And so what are those systems that you put in your heart and in your mind that as soon as they come, man, you know, it's almost like how your body has an immune system that automatically can, foreign. If
you get hit or hurt or cut,
man, I want, just as my body is beautifully engineered, I want my mind to be that the same way. When I'm like, I see what you're doing. No.
So let me ask you a question. I'm in the same exact boat with you. I'm working on that too. But here's my question, because I might be a little weird and I would like to get y'all's input. I talk to myself in those moments because that's the only way. So if I'm think of something tame, because my mind goes crazy sometimes. Okay, here, I got one. So let's say I'm in traffic and somebody cuts me off. My natural response, because of the person that I am, is to my anger level, rises. Like you can see the temperature, like in the cartoons, you can see the red lifted up. Right, exactly. But I'm working to, like, that's, for me, that's one of the viruses that you're talking about. So for me, I talk to myself like, okay, it's time, you gotta relax, you have to calm down, this is not something that's gonna detract from your day. He cut you off, you're still gonna make it to your destination, you're still safe, you're still alive. I literally go through that verbally out loud to myself in order to bring myself back to center. So my question is, what do you do, especially for you, because you just mentioned it, what do you do when you come into those situations where you have
I do something similar in my thoughts. In my thoughts, what I try to do is, I do the same thing. I don't speak out verbally, but in my mind, I calm down, right? Okay. That's kind of what it is in breathe, right? Breathing is it's essential, man. To get oxygen to the brain, and just relax, or whatever. Because, it's an exercise. You know what I'm saying? It's truly an exercise where you have to, because same thing, that's probably
He cracks me up.
A weakness. That is my weakness.
I'm talking to this brother in the car a lot. We
that's
talk
my
about road
weakness.
rage. I know every time somebody cuts him off or is going slower for him, cracking me up.
That's funny because you drive slow. That's what's funny about it.
No, what it is, like, you know what drives me nuts about people, and we'll get to your thought in a second. Man. I was thinking about is the when you deal with people, I don't like people that are irresponsible. I don't like people. I don't like when people are irresponsible. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? Because a vehicle can kill somebody. It's no different than anything else that you have to use wisdom and be responsible that if I do this, someone can get truly hurt, you know? So when people is driving and they're doing something just like very irresponsible, that's what frustrates me.
I got you.
Because you have to drive not only for yourself, but your eyes and your mind is constantly looking everywhere else for other people. You're driving for other people. Right. You know what I mean? So that's kind of what it is.
Okay.
You know, so
fair enough.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I can't do mine silently in my head, man. Because my brain, the angry guy that lives in my head. You remember the movie? What was that movie where they had the feelings and stuff? The happy, sad, angry, Inside Out.
That was a great movie.
Yeah, it was fantastic. The angry guy is like 3 or 4 times bigger than everybody else in the room.
Hundreds of them, and everybody else is single.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and so I have to verbalize so I can hear it audibly in my head in order to calm down. When I'm getting angry, most of the time it's a verbal thing for me.
I guess I do verbal it because he hears me on the phone.
You're cracking me up like you driving, ain't you? Man, as soon as you say that, I know you driving. Right.
Come on.
Yeah,
that's funny.
Can I hit one more point before we change subjects?
Definitely.
Because
take your time.
As we're talking about weaknesses, right, and I got to stop talking with my hand in front of my mouth. As we talk about weaknesses, and again, going back to the personality test, when I find something I don't like about myself, I get extremely harsh to myself about it. I'm hard on myself. I'm a harsh critic of myself. And I had this guy named John Kelch. His website is John Kelch Speaks. He did a class for us at my job. Very good guy. I talked to him for a while. We had a chance, a couple minutes to talk kind of before and after his lesson. And one of the things he brought up in the class was if you think about how you talk to yourself, your inner dialogue with yourself, right? If you talked to a friend the way you talk to yourself, would that friend still be friends with you? Right? And it's like when he said that, I was like, wow, because I beat up myself
that's absolutely
on a
no.
regular basis. I wouldn't. That's what was so eye-opening to me about it was because no, absolutely not. I never tolerate somebody talking to me the way I do myself.
That's interesting.
But it was an interesting way to think about it. You know what I mean? Because it just So as we kind of all go on this self-help and self-improvement kind of journey, and I see a lot of things about forgiving yourself and accepting who you are doesn't have to necessarily mean you're not going to grow or you're not going to change.
Absolutely.
Right? So
right. Absolutely.
I try to not look at them. So we go through this in our warranty analysis stuff, right? Yeah. So in automotive, and there's a process called a SWOT or a tool called a SWOT diagram. Okay. SWOT. And I don't know if you want to do this on the green screen, but when you do it, you have to write it like in a, I know, right? You have to write it out like in a square format. It's S, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. SWOT. So you have strengths and opportunities on this side, weaknesses and threats on the right side. And the tool, the process for the tool is you have to look at every single weakness, every single threat, and figure out how to convert them to strengths or opportunities. Either how to convert them to or how to use strengths and opportunities to take them off of the weaknesses and threats column. Okay. Right? So that to me is also a tool where it's like, as we say, I have this thing I don't like about myself. That instead of approaching it like I have this thing I don't like about myself, instead you say, I'm this right now, I'd like to be this. What are the steps I have to take to get to this point? Or how would me that's in that future state handle the situation? You know what I mean? And not take the negative approach of I don't like this about myself or I hate this about me or I want to change this, so much so as saying, I'm doing this now. This is who I am now. That's great, but I like to do this thing differently, and chart out the course to how to get to that other state of being, right? You know what I mean?
That's
so
great.
yeah,
that's that bridge that I was talking
yeah,
about.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
I'm sitting here like picturing that, and as you're talking about, I love
That's a
that.
great visual. I was thinking that too. That's a fantastic
I was
visual.
just thinking about that, man, because you were saying about you want some fresh fruit.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, seriously,
Yep.
man.
Same thing.
My little voice in my head, like I have like a little angry guy, but he's small. Like my little voice is like Stuart Smalley from SNL. I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and dark enough people like me. That's the guy that lives in my head. That's why I kind of get through okay. You know what I'm saying? I get along with people because I got that guy in my head. Right. But I do have like a little angry guy. Now I try and suppress it. So what I do is go through different scenarios in my mind.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of different scenarios I think of, and I think of the worst of those scenarios.
Okay.
Like somebody that's entitled that wants to disrespect me, or you know, things like that. And I think about how I would want to respond to that. Now,
So you mean you're in the situation where they might be disrespectful, and you're going through how that could turn out? You mean?
No, this is just on my own. Like,
Oh,
I'm not in these situations.
Okay, I got you.
I just think about situations that will make me mad.
Okay.
And I play it out in my head, like
Okay.
the different ways, the extreme different ways I would actually respond to it.
Mhm.
Now, most of the initial results are violent thoughts,
Right.
right? They really are. Like,
Yeah.
really, I said something to my wife the other day because it was something she told me about a guy disrespected her on the road. This is something I'm going to share with y'all in a minute, probably off camera though. But the guy decided he looked in her car and then he took off, and then he spat across her car, like, when he, you know what I'm saying?
Oh,
So
wow.
I'm gonna talk about that though, because it's something I've noticed. I don't know if y'all knows, but I voiced one of my violent thoughts. And
Yeah, because I got them right now.
Yeah, she's
that
like,
ain't even my wife.
But she was like, "Oh my God, Alex, don't ever say that again."
Wow.
I was like, "I'm sorry. That's really what I feel right now."
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what I said off camera. But I said I had to check that because it actually kind of bothered her a little bit that I actually would have that type of a thought.
Okay.
But it was legit though, because because that type of thought is followed by a history of things, right? That we all can probably talk about.
Sure.
But what I try not to do, I think about the things that would make me mad. I think about the ways I could respond, but then I think about that result that response would give, and I'm like, I don't want that result. So I'm like, okay, what's the alternative? What could I do to? So I'm like, let me take the best aspects of the way that I see myself, and let me operate through that.
Okay.
And then that has helped me in some situations.
That's great.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, but it's taken years of practice.
Yeah, I was about to say. Yeah.
'Cause I can definitely say I have a violent response for certain things that I see and hear, because it's like, that's just totally uncalled for. Like, you know, road rage type stuff, those types of thoughts, you know, and I'm like, you have to suppress that because you would never want to act on it, and then you do something that's irreversible, because we all have that potential.
Sure.
We're all one decision of making like an irreversible mistake.
Absolutely.
So it's like, okay, let me play this scenario out in my mind. Just different things that you know will make you mad.
Right.
Usually mine is those people that are rude and entitled.
Okay.
I have a real problem with that because that's too prevalent in our society today.
Yeah.
People that are disregarding. I mean, I can go to Costco and get disregarded
For sure.
by somebody that feels entitled above me. They feel like they're above me.
Right.
And I'm like, those are my triggers.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So I have to take the little Stuart Smalley in my head and say, I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and doggone it, people like me. And operate through that.
Right.
Got you.
Because, you know, we all have this potential to really,
Oh, yeah, man.
you know what I'm saying? Like, really have some.
But you know, it's funny, Al, that you say that, man, and I can understand, right? But there's some people that actually go through. We know that. I mean, you know, people
It's
that
on the
follow
news.
through
It's on the news all
on
the
their
time.
mind.
Yeah.
And so, and then I think it's like really, like, you know, really, like what you said, man, like creating me a clean heart, renewing me a right spirit all the time, man.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
seriously.
Yeah, because
people don't know what they do.
They don't know what they
got.
do.
They don't know.
But the problem is they don't really care, though.
Yeah.
Everybody's out moving amongst them, their own situations, and their situation is more important to them than anybody else.
Oh yeah.
Right, especially somebody pushing their baby along and they want to, you know, cut you off. It's like, I got a baby here. You know, it's like, but you can't weaponize the baby and the, you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, I don't like that.
Yeah.
That's
it's all-
that irresponsible. That's you see.
It's
what I'm
just
saying?
disregard.
It's disregard.
It's a lot of disregard,
irresponsibility.
for sure.
It's immaturity. You know what I'm saying? I got a problem with all that.
Yeah, but it's a process, man. It's a really
Absolutely.
It's a hard fight that you got to do. Work with your thought processes daily, and that whole thing that we've learned about dying to yourself daily. That plays into that because you can always make a bad decision. It's easier to make the bad decision.
Absolutely.
It's easier to say the wrong thing and maybe end up regretting it, especially to somebody like for example, that you might love.
Yeah.
So you got to say to yourself, you know, when you have free time, downtime, you say to yourself, you think, like, say if you see something on the news, right? It's like, man, if that was me, I wouldn't have let that. But you got to say to yourself, okay, in that scenario, how would I really handle it?
Right.
And then you always going to have the worst case scenario. Like, I would kill that, you know.
Yeah.
But honestly, you got to say, okay, how do I see myself? And how do I see myself on the other side of that?
Yeah.
Do I see myself doing life?
Right.
Consecutive life sentences? Or do I want to be able to go home to my family? So you kind of weigh it out in your head. Because, I mean, I remember my father telling my brothers and I when we were young, like, you know, it's like you think you will do something, but it's always somebody out there crazier than you.
Right.
It's always somebody out there bigger and badder than you. So, and I know that for a fact. Like, there's a lot of dudes crazy. I mean, I'm not crazy. So, you know, so we have to say to ourselves, what side of this do you want to end up on? So that's
what side of crazy?
That's pretty much it.
Yeah, one of the really good examples that I think of in regards to that is in 2022, a lot of black people, a lot of us, you know, will say, man, it couldn't have been me back in slavery. It couldn't have been me.
Yeah,
you know,
I always say
ain't
that to
nowhere in the
myself.
world. It probably could have been you.
Yeah, with the buck breaking they were doing.
Yeah, exactly.
You probably could have did it.
You probably been a little more quiet than you think.
Exactly.
It was rough, man.
Yeah.
But see, that lets you know that the mentality. It was mental way before the physical.
Exactly.
Mental breaking.
Well,
if you can mental break somebody, it's a wrap.
but you know what we have in our mindset, right? So you take that mindset back.